From the National Federation of Independent Businesses showing small business optimism at its lowest in 11 years, with high inflation and interest rates as the main culprit. Joining us now to analyze everything, Gene Marks, a small business expert and president of the Marks Group, and an all-around great guy. Gene, nobody better to talk to when it comes to my pocketbook and, of course, that of the small businesses. Let's start with those small businesses. What do you make of this?
Hey, Griff, I tell you, I spend a lot of time running around the country talking to business groups and trade associations, like more than 50 times a year, manufacturers, distributors, construction companies. It's not just inflation has been brought down to anywhere between 2 to 4%. But these companies are dealing with significantly higher costs than they've ever dealt with in the past 3 years. Like if you're a construction company, the cost of construction materials, Griff, are up 30% than what they were in like January of 2021. And this goes across the board: utilities, freight, hourly labor, manufacturing costs. The cost of fertilizer is up 48%. And I guess the reason why I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, to you and obviously to your audience, is that as much as we as consumers suffer with rising prices, you have to realize that businesses, particularly the small businesses that are making stuff and delivering stuff, they are grappling with significantly higher costs than they ever have just over the past 2 to 3 years. That's why we're seeing it in our pocketbooks,
Well, you talk about pocketbooks. I have long believed the political adage that there are minds you can convince, hearts whom strings you can tug. But Gene, when you grab this, you will grab their hearts and minds, which will follow. Let's show you what happens when you go to the grocery store. Things are up all across the board. You see milk up 12.4, eggs 104% for eggs, bread 25%, butter 23%, chicken 25%. In steak, albeit you splurge, but are you really going to splurge when it's almost 30%? Now let's go to the automobile industry. I want to show that as well to really show that you're feeling it all the way across. You can see cars up 15.6%. Gas prices continue to be up 50%, despite what we're hearing from the administration, and car insurance also socking people. Why?
So you've got hundreds of millions of consumers that are dealing with this issue right now of that higher price. You've got at least 30 million small businesses around this country, and they are all voters, and they also have employees. They employ more than half the people in this country, also dealing with higher costs. And what has always frustrated me, Griff, is that, the administration talks about inflation is under control and the economy's going good. And, to me, it just seems very tone deaf. They don't see the prices that we're paying at the grocery store and for cars and for basic costs of living. And I don't think the president fully understands the high costs that are being impacted by so many small and mid-sized businesses all around the country. Companies that really just don't have the ability to just increase prices to make up for it. They've got to absorb that somehow. It impacts their spending. By the way, we haven't even talked about interest costs. I mean, the prime rate right now is at 8.5%. I don't have any clients that are paying 8.5% interest. They're paying a couple points above that. So they're held back on getting loans and financing, and their overall costs of financing are so much higher. It's tough. It's very tough.
I'm glad I'm not buying a house right now. Let me just, before I run out of time, Gene, a new New York Times Siena poll had some numbers in there, and one stood out to me, and that is a problem for the White House. That is 85% of young voters say they are dissatisfied with Bidenomics. Is that going to be a problem for the White House and President Biden when it comes to November?
I think it's going to be a big problem for the White House, Griff. I mean, I listen, I have kids that are in their 20s as well. And, everybody's got, they've got jobs, but they're working hard, and their dollar is not going as far as it used to. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to pay rent. Even here in cities like Philadelphia, where I'm from, where the cost of living is certainly less than New York or D.C., it's still really, really tough. And I think a lot of these young voters are going to really be questioning themselves, when it comes to make those votes about how the president is handling the economy. Your pocketbook, like you said at the beginning of this segment, it's probably the most important thing. And when people are suffering, they're going to let their voices know.
And those youngsters have got to pay somehow for DoorDash when mom and dad don't. Gene Marks, as always, great insight. Thank you, sir.